G'day mates, welcome back to my YouTube channel. We have our first update video of the season. I'm going to be talking about who the best teams are, where they're dropping, and what are they doing to make them perform so well in a meta that a lot of pros are finding difficult. So if you're playing competitive, you're looking to get into FNCS and the Cash Cups coming up, this is going to be the video for you. Or if you just want to know who's playing with who and who's doing the best, I've also got you covered. Let's just jump into it. If you guys haven't been paying attention to the tournament so far this season, don't worry, I'll catch you up to date. We'll talk about who the most dominant teams are going into FNCS at the moment, at least in NA East, because we've had quite a few third-party tournaments going on, and we've had two in-game tournaments, the Performance Evaluation Cup, and one team at the moment is standing head and shoulders above the rest, absolutely dominating. This is Scented and Cold, coming first in both the Evaluation Cup finals, and not just first, coming first by a good margin. They got 123 points in the Evaluation Cup yesterday, when second got 93 with Fatch and Pam Stu, and then they came first in the first Evaluation Cup on 120 points, with Bugha and Skqttles coming in second on 84. So that means they've won both the tournaments with about a 30 to 40 point lead. So absolutely dominating that one, but that's not just it. They came first in the Jack Riper Duo Cup and fifth in the Elite Fort Duo Cup in the last few weeks as well. And this is a team that might be interesting. If you guys haven't been following NA East too much, you might be a little bit confused. Cented's playing with Cold, and maybe if you don't follow NA East a lot, you might not even know who Cold is. He was playing FNCS last season with Cease and Elite, and I honestly think they are one of the most underrated trios in the season, especially coming into this new season. You've obviously heard of Cease from the World Cup, but I think Elite and Cold were really underrated, and I was expecting them to get picked up by good teammates. I was not expecting Scented though, so when Scented picked up Cold, I was so incredibly excited for him, and I knew he was going to pop off. Not only this, you might be thinking, man, Scented just that good, he's carrying Cold. By no means, and Scented will tell you this as well. Scented even going so far as on Twitter to vouch Cold to get into an org. He tweeted out, need a tier 1 org to sign Cold before FNCS, please. We grind 12 hours a day, which I just love that from a teammate. Scented gains absolutely nothing from Cold joining an org. That is purely him just looking out for his teammate. But if you go back and watch the tournaments from today, I'm actually going to put the replay codes down below in the description if you guys want to check out the games. It wasn't just Scented and Cold dominating. Cold was going crazy. They got a 16 elim win in, I believe, game number 3. But in all the games, I was seeing them go into endgame rotating zones with Cold on like 4 to 5 kills almost every single game. So I'm going to talk a little bit later in the video about why they're doing so well, where they're dropping, and some of the strategies they're implementing. I do want to talk about some of the other teams that are absolutely popping off as well. But right now, going into FNCS, based on the performance we're seeing, you have to have Scented and Cold as your favorites, at least in NA East. Next up, we have the World Cup champion, reigning back-to-back FNCS champion, Bugha, and his new duo mate, Skqttles. Now, starting off the season, they've had phenomenal performances as well. Not quite as good as Scented and Cold, but very good. They came first in the Elite Fort Cup, second in the Performance Cup, fifth in the Performance Cup, and fourth in the Formula Cup. Those are their most notable placements so far, but Skqttles and Bugha are looking very, very strong. Obviously, Bugha coming out of a very, very hot finish to 2021, winning FNCS and Grand Royale back-to-back. Skqttles obviously being a phenomenal player, a lot of people have respected, and having some good placements last year, but not having as phenomenal as Bugha. Some people confused that Bugha was picking up Skqttles in this situation, but I think this team does look absolutely phenomenal. Skqttles is a fantastic fragger. Bugha has really stepped up into that IGL role, proving that, playing alongside Mero, who was co-IGLing a little bit at the end of 2021, but Bugha very much taking over that IGL and tarping role. They are looking absolutely fantastic. Again, I'm going to talk about their drop spot at the end of the video and go over what they're doing well as well, but at the moment they're looking very, very strong to close out this season. And then third up, we have Degen and Eomzo. And now this was an interesting one. Degen, you know, going backwards and forwards with Ages. We had, you know, a lot of theories and people thinking that Degen would actually play with Ages, his duo mate he's been playing with for a very, very long time, but it looks like Degen and Ages did amicably split. There was some impression farms a few days ago, people saying that Degen was going to go back to play with Ages and Eomzo was looking for a new teammate. teammate. All of that was bait. None of that was true. We only have one new team at the moment, which is Mero's new team, which I'll talk about in a second. Degen and Eomzo opening up FNCS so far at the start of the season with a third in the Evaluation Cup and a third in the Elite Fort Cup. I don't think their placements are doing justice how well they are playing. They are being heavily contested at their drop spot, which I will talk about in a second, and overall they've been performing very well. A lot of people actually making a jokes that even Degen's incredibly deep voice is now wearing off on Eomzo, as we're basically watching Eomzo grow up in front of us, but I have high hopes for this team. Eomzo has always been one of the best fraggers in the region, or at least towards the tail end of last year, and now he's stepping up into still being a phenomenal fragger, but I think he's really maturing and he's growing up, as you can hear and see when you watch him play. But it's his decision making, it's how he communicates with Degen, how he handles blame, how they discuss what's working and what's not working, that makes me think that I honestly think Eomzo is probably going to be one of the best players this year and by far the most improved. Very much expect Eomzo to see him up there on the leaderboard a lot this year. Now, let's take a look at the drop spots that are allowing these teams to dominate in case you want to, find some new drop spots or know which ones the strongest are. The two strongest drop spots on the map right now, and it's the two that these teams are doing so well out of, is going to be Sleepy Sounds, more specifically the south side of Sleepy Sounds right here. This is where you currently have Centered and Cold going. They pretty much have the whole south side on lock. Any team that drops near them, they have been keying. They have a lot of chests to rotate through here, but quite often you'll see teams drop down here and take this section, but they do have all the south of Sleepy Sounds. Now, Bugha's Skqttles is a little bit different. They are going Bugha Speedway, which has a lot of chests, but the main thing about Bugha Speedway, which makes it so ridiculously strong, are the coolers. If you guys don't already know, the coolers drop chug splashes and guzzle juices, but they have a chance to drop 4 chug splashes from a single cooler. There are so many in Chonka Speedway. They are walking out absolutely stacked every time. The reason why I say it's interesting though is they don't have all of the Speedway. Sometimes they'll take the north section. In today's Evaluation Cup, they're actually dropping on the far north section, which was really interesting to me. They are getting contested by Jamper's team, which is a little bit scary for them. That is a good fighting duo with Jamper and Tragics on spawn, so they're not getting it completely for free, but they have a lot of options with how they can drop it. I've quite often seen, some teams maybe split it north and south. I've then seen other teams kind of sometimes split it maybe on the edges. One of them will split it east to west as well. So there's a lot of different ways that teams can split chonkers, and then sometimes, like I said, you'll even see them just dropping on the northern section because there's a lot of chests. They have Spider-Man mythics, and they do also get the coolers like I talked about. The other one for Degen Eomzo, which is a little bit scary for me because I think it's a little bit griefable. They are starting their drop spot on the Crackshot Den, which has 6 chests. I obviously made a video very early on in the season, made a TikTok talking about how insane this building is. There's a triple chest spawn at the Christmas tree and a double chest spawn in the roof, but the main reason why this drop works so well is they drop there and then they're instantly rotating straight over to the llama house. This has a guaranteed 100% llama spawn. They're getting that every single game, so they're getting enough loot from this place. They're then getting the materials and the chili chug splashes and all the other loot from the llama. They can also grab the loot in the residing area. Quite often they will then hit the rotate using the quad crashes back over to the bridge to get their metal up. It's a fantastic drop. The only reason why I'm scared is sometimes in tournaments teams will either 50-50 the Crackshot house, which honestly Eomzo and Degen have a god drop spot for. They've got a drop map. They're making it down first every time. But if teams drop on the llama and scare it away or take the llama, that really hurts their rotate path. So I'm not entirely sure how they're going to play that one out and how they're going to handle that. But so far in tournaments, they've got it pretty much completely on lockdown. So they are looking really good. The team that I have to cover that obviously we haven't seen how they've got to perform yet, they formed just today, was our brand new team with Mero. Mero's been hopping around teams a little bit. We saw Centered Mero. I was a little bit worried for that. I knew personality-wise, not because Centered and Mero are either bad people, they just feel like they have a very clashing personality type when it comes to being IGL and decision-making, so I didn't think that one was going to work too well. It did fall through. We've had Mero bounce around a couple of teams now. I think we had Mero and Dukes for a little bit there as well. That didn't work out. We then had Mero and Visuals, which they played in the Performance Cup today. Didn't do terribly, but now we have Mero landing with Acorn, and they're going to be dropping at Tilted Towers. Acorn and Jack have been dropping mid-map at the section right in the very middle, and honestly, it's got a fair bit of loot, so it has been working as a drop spot for the most part up until now, but Jack and Acorn were playing the long game, and they were locking it down for when Tilted Towers entered the game. Well, it looks like, unfortunately, that hasn't worked out too well for Jack, because we now have Mero and Acorn going to be dropping sitting there for all of this year, and I think it's going to be an interesting one. They are going to be one of the best fighting teams in NA East. Locking down Tilted will be tough. I think there's going to be multiple teams that want to drop there, but this is a very scary and very, very high potential team coming into the season, and I wanted to mention them because they're brand new. We haven't got to see how they perform, but I have high hopes for them. The other team which I got to talk about is Deyy and Clix, because a lot of you guys are going to be asking how they're going. Obviously, being the DreamHack champions from a few seasons ago, they've had some mixed performances so far this season. They were dropping the north side of Sleepy at the very start. They weren't even getting all of the north side of Sleepy though. Unfortunately, they're only getting about most of the west part, and then having to rotate towards Shifty Shafts and the other areas nearby to try to get their loot. They were getting no metal. It wasn't quite working for them. They were having very up and down mixed performances. They have now since switched to the Joneses area, which is a little bit further down on the map. It's not a bad drop spot. It's a decent drop spot. It works if you get it uncontested, but unfortunately, they aren't getting it uncontested at this point in time. They are being contested a lot. In the Performance Evaluation Cup today, the only game they had it uncontested, they actually came first. So they have the sparks there. They have the performance. I'm still just a little bit skeptical of Clix stepping into that IGL role, especially in the early and mid game, just setting up their surge routes, making sure they're playing smart, making sure they're not just keying teams, and that's how they get their surge, because they're a phenomenal fighting team. Everybody knows that. Game 4 today, Deyy put on an absolute clinic, getting like 8 kills before they even left the drop spot. But if you play like that, it's not going to be consistent, and especially in the games like FNCS, they're going to have really high surge thresholds. They're going to have to come up with a bit more of a game plan, but I think Clix and Deyy can pull it together, and I wanted to mention them because I know a lot of you guys are going to ask how they're doing. Now, let's talk about strategy and playstyle. Now, the main one I want to talk about here is Centered and Cold, because they are doing the most consistent when it comes to the tournament so far. They're playing phenomenally, and one of the major keys to their success has been vehicles. Lambos, specifically with the upgraded tires, the Chonka tires, is pretty much Centered and Cold's key to success. It's how they're playing most of their games. Centered is choosing to run SMG shotgun almost exclusively. He will not pick up an AR, choosing to give Cold the MK7, who is using MK7 shotgun. They are both running triple meds on top of that. They are not using Spider-Man mythics. They are using that extra slot to carry more meds, and they are getting their Storm Surge by driving pretty much instantly to center of second, third, and fourth zone if they can. Center of second and third zone, and then staying the edge of fourth to try to get half-half. Quite often, they're just bullying teams around them early game, getting a lot of early and mid-game eliminations. Like I said, Cold is an absolute demon. You know how good Centered is, but when you pair that up with Cold, they are winning a lot of early and mid-game fights. They will quite often, if they get early surge, just base up, not on high ground, in no position of power. Once they have their surge, Centered and Cold play incredibly low-key, just basing up close to center wherever they can, where they have less chance of getting lobby focused, and they play it pretty low-key. They don't look for a lot of tags. They don't look for a lot of elims. Centered understands how ridiculously easy it is to die in this current meta. You get MK7 sprayed by a couple teams or SMG'd, you are going to die no matter how good you are. So they play it very, very safe. Centered has also been posting every time he places that he now has the god coach of Sven. You guys might know Sven. He's been coaching some of the best EU players for a really long time now, works with Become Legends. He is one of the best coaches in the world, and he clearly has a very good strategy for this team. Again, check out the replay files, hit the VODs. They are playing very, very well, but it comes on the back of just being two of the best fighters in the world right now. They are completely mincing teams for free. Then when it comes to endgame, you might find this interesting. Centered actually changed his name to FaZe High Ground 7, and I've been talking about this on stream. Centered was in my stream when I was saying it. Don't want to put him on blast, but my man is most definitely not playing high ground, and that is a good thing. They are playing low ground, which Centered is so good at. You have Cold next to him, who, like I said, can pop off for frags. There is no reason to play high ground in the current meta unless the zone suggests it. There is no point hard cycling high like people did in trios. In duos, it's incredibly hard to hold, especially with MK7s and Stingers just destroying you at any second. You got people Spider-Manning for height. You got people padding onto height. If you can play low ground well, you're in for such a more consistent gameplay. It is a phenomenal way to play the game, especially with the new zones. zones. I've talked about this. There has been a change to the way that zones function in Fortnite. Endgame zones now pull further but last longer. So endgames actually drag out for about a minute and a half longer than what they used to, and it means that you run out of materials very quickly. If you're not playing your materials properly, you're not getting constant refreshes, you're gonna run out of materials, especially on high ground. And because zones are almost never going to heal off anymore, they are almost always going to fight. Sitting on high ground and just using hard mats and then running back and healing isn't as strong anymore. You have to take the fights. And with MK7s and Stingers just destroying builds, sitting on high ground in a 2v2 above the last team isn't as much of an advantage as what it was before. So I think Sentient and Cold have the perfect playstyle right now, utilizing their vehicles, their superior fighting, and then playing low ground in the end games. As far as how the other teams are playing, Degen and Eomzo are both utilizing Spider-Man mythics as well as Bugha and Skqttles. Not a lot of teams are using the Spider-Man. I'd say it's about 50-50 between the different teams. You can play that playstyle how you want depending on your drop spots, but the main thing right now is just taking very, very smart engagements, not spraying people, and recognizing, yes, you can be beaming opponents and getting free kills right now, but you are just as vulnerable. Yes, this meta is frustrating. I understand that it's not my favorite meta. I'm really looking forward to having the SMGs nerfed a little bit because I think that will make the meta and competitive especially a bit better. Same with the MK7s being toned back a little bit. You've probably seen a lot of pros complaining, and I know what you guys are going to say. Pros always complain, but I've got to admit this meta right now is a little bit shaky. It's by far not the best we've had competitively, but there's still teams like Sentient and Cold performing phenomenally. So when I keep hearing that this is the worst meta, there's no skill in it, it's terrible, everyone gets beamed, everyone dies, it's just not true at the same way. Yes, it's frustrating, and when I play it, I'm not enjoying it a whole lot either, but when you have specific teams doing phenomenally well over and over again consistently, it doesn't give you the excuse to just say that, oh, the meta's terrible, that's why I'm doing bad. I think people should still be trying to do the best they can with the meta the way it is right now, because we have no guarantee the SMGs or the ARs are going to be nerfed. But I have said this previously on stream, I haven't said in a video, while Epic is back in office right now and we can expect some big major updates very soon, we have Tilted Towers potentially coming into the game in about a week's time. I might talk about that in tomorrow's video. It looks like there is evidence for the fact that development team actually isn't back in office just yet. They're taking an extra week break. So just because the SMGs and the ARs haven't been nerfed or there's been no gameplay updates, don't take that as a sign that Epic is not going to change the game. But at the same time, I think the pros need to adapt to the way the game is right now and not just hope that Epic's going to change it to be the way they want it to be. As far as the Spider-Man mythics, I think they're very balanced, and I do think Epic will leave them in competitive. I wouldn't be surprised if they took them out, but I think a lot of people saying that, oh, they'll definitely be out before tournaments just isn't true. They are very balanced in competitive right now. I almost never see them being like, oh my god, he has a Spider-Man, that's so broken. In good lobbies of players with good aim, they kind of just feel like the inflatable. If you use them poorly, you get sprayed, you get beamed, you get focused, and you die. If you use them well, they can be good, but they're not super overpowered. Like I said, a lot of pros are choosing to run, you know, AR, shotgun, SMG, and then double med, or opting to run triple meds like SMG, shotgun, triple med. Or you've got some teams out there running AR, SMG, no shotgun, and triple meds. The Spider-Man is definitely not a guaranteed, I have to run it, most broken weapon, and I truly do think it might stay in competitive. Don't worry, for my EU brothers and sisters out there, I am going to try and do my best to cover what's been going on with the EU. I'm going to reach out to some of the people in the scene like Boop, who've been watching a bunch of scrims and running a bunch of practice tournaments to see how that's all shaping up. I've been enjoying my sleep-ins. I've been sticking mostly to watching NAEs just because there's no major in-game tournaments for EU. But don't worry, Duo Cash Cup starting up in a few days. I will be waking up early again. I'll be covering EU, NA East, and NA West on my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Aussie Antics. We also have a whole bunch of tournaments coming up over the next few days. We have a lot of NA East third-party tournaments if you want to come along and watch some of the games like I've been talking about. We also have the Duo Cash Cups, like I said, in a few days, so I'm going to be going crazy for the viewing parties for those. Don't worry, as you can see with today's video, the comp updates are still going to be happening. I was trying out some other new fun type of content in this break. I'll still be doing that into the season. You know, I've got a video coming up where I'm going to try and get your guys clips from the community, guess your earnings. I'm going to try and guess, like, you know, your arena points, do some fun stuff like that. I'm going to keep doing the story of videos as well, but I'm very much going to keep making competitive Fortnite update videos. I love making them. It's what you guys did to make my career what it is today. I'm not going to switch up on that. I just wanted to make some other videos while there was no tournaments. Alright guys, that does it for another video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please chuck a like on it. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on anything I talked about today. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.